Hello and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. It's me, Jordan and Shannon. As always, I'm joined by Kieran Powell. But tonight we are joined by a very special guest with us. On the evening of a truly special milestone, his 100th Test match. Please welcome Kraigg Brathwaite. Thank you for joining us, Kraigg.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Craig, we jumped straight in. Craig Brathwaite to the world, but I first knew him as Pencilman, as Marlon Samuels gave him gave him the name. Craig, now obviously 100 Test match. Congratulations, buddy! Hell of an achievement. Only the 10th West Indian to do that. Like, I mean, as a kid growing up, dreaming about this, like, what does this mean to you?
Um, I mean, words are hard to describe it, to be honest. It's something that I would have worked hard, from playing for slash cricket, playing test matches and going through, a lot of different battles, a lot of tough times, a lot of good times. To be here in this moment, it's not nothing that happened, quickly, it took a lot of time. So, obviously to be here and to be able to achieve it, it's a very satisfying feeling.
And I mean, obviously, as you said, a lot of time, a lot of battles. Like, what's probably your best memory that you could say that you've had playing Test cricket?
I think team wise, as a team, when we beat Bangladesh in Bangladesh 2-0. Because the tour before that we would have lost 2-0. We were trashed 2-0. So that one was very, very special. Um, like most test wins, but I mean, if I could speak about one, I guess I'll just mention that one for now.
And I mean, people talk about obviously the good, but what would you say was your, I guess, worst or hardest Test moment?
Yeah, I didn't hear that. The
People talk about obviously all the good times, but what would you say was your worst moment in
oh,
Test cricket, or like your hardest moment that you had to overcome?
um, yeah, I think early on, playing against Australia would have gotten, two or three ducks in the series. I think and that happened early on between my first 10 games, but for sure that was a very, very tough period, a tough period for me. But generally in Test cricket, you always have some period, whether it's one innings or a game or two, that it's pretty tough. So I guess that really sums up what Test cricket as an opener, which you will pretty much understand. As an opener is about, especially playing for West Indies, it's really a mental test.
Um, who are some of the people that I guess helped you along the way to get to this milestone? Because obviously people see you, but they don't see all the people behind the background. So who are some of the people that would have helped you that you'd like to thank in getting to this landmark?
Yeah, well, I would have never been here without God, obviously putting God first, is something big, big for me and important. And my dad, has been there for me, up to this day, from time I was a little boy, going on the pasture with him and playing cricket, to playing first class and West Indies. He's always been there supporting me. And, so he's pretty much very important. I think my coach, Mr. Eswit from Commonwealth when I met him when I was 11 years old. Um, he's been very important in my career as a young guy, understanding what it takes to improve and to work hard, and the discipline it will take, regardless of the situations. I think those two for me, really helped me. I mean, it's a number
People,
of
yeah.
people to be honest, but I think those two, really up there. I top five.
I think I'll add another two because obviously there's a long list of people that you can't mention, but I know you used to wear a badge with your grandparents on it, and I know that
Yeah.
they mean a lot to you, so they'd be happy that you've achieved this looking down on so I'm happy about that. What does I guess Test cricket and West Indies cricket mean to you? Obviously having been just the 10th person now to get to 100 Test matches for the West Indies. What does it really mean to you to be a West Indian cricketer?
Um, I think it means pretty much my life. It means everything. From watching West Indies play as a youngster, seeing Brian Lara, walk out to bat, and wearing that West Indies crest, and then as I got older, and then obviously playing with him, Shiv Shannon Paul, seeing those guys and what they did and the pride that they brought to the Caribbean. Because whenever you win a Test match and it's always a buzz, around the Caribbean. And from a young age, I would have experienced that. Lara scoring 400. and how it makes the Caribbean people happy, and coming into the team and playing, and pretty much seeing that as well, when we get wins, and when you do well, to see how the whole of the Caribbean, no matter who may say what, everyone is always happy, to see the West Indian team doing well. So I think it means, it means everything. Um, to be honest, to be representing, West Indies, and being able to do well, and and make people happy. I think that's, for me, that's very, very important.
And I mean, obviously, a lot of people have been talking about your recent form, but like, do you, after this landmark, have the desire and the want to continue to play Test cricket, still being a young man?
Yeah, I still have it, man. I can't say, right now that, I don't feel to. Um, some tough times for sure of recent, but I think this is what it's about. And, it just, I'm still about the hard work. So, yeah, not as yet, to hang of it, hang the boots as yet.
And just a last question from me before I pass to Jordan. Obviously, as I said, amazing achievement, 100 Test matches, all the hard work, all the dedication. Like, what's the legacy you hope to leave or have left so far for the next generation of kids wanting to play for the West Indies, wanting to be that 11th person to get to 100 Test matches, get to how many of a Test centuries, how much of a Test runs, all these things?
Um, I think one big thing is, in a world right now where, there's a lot of franchise cricket, which obviously is good. It's a good thing for the game and for the sport, and for guys to be able to, make money across the world. Um, to to still be an inspiration for guys to, and as I said in one of the interviews that I had, it's not just to play 100 tests, but it could be to be a shareholder and to play 300 tests, 300 one days. Sorry, obviously he isn't there as yet with the amount of one days, or play all the franchises, in the world, play all the T20 tournaments in the world. I just want to be that inspiration, to know that from a young age you can set those goals, and work extremely hard to achieve them. That's one thing I want people to see. Yes, 100 games. I say that takes a while, but it shows that once you set your goals and you dream big, that you can achieve anything. And I just want to be an inspiration to, even if it's just one boy,
Yeah.
in the Caribbean, or in world cricket, to dream, and whatever it is, T20s, 50 over Test cricket. And obviously Test cricket is very, very important to world cricket, and
Yes.
it's still a massive, thing when you do well in Test cricket. You look at Shamar Joseph, and where he started out from getting wickets in Test cricket, and I just want to be that inspiration, to for guys to know that they can dream to do it, and from a young age, and work hard to achieve it.
Well, I mean, before I pass over to you, Jordan, I mean,
Yeah,
Craig,
sure.
just obviously somebody that's played with you for a number of years. It's amazing to see that you get to 100 Test matches. Obviously, out of personally like to see our former teammate Kim Roach get to 300 Test wickets as well, because I think for this generation of West Indian players, leaving our own mark on the game is something important for the next generation of people to see. So just congratulations. I hope you keep going until you can't go anymore, because once you stop, obviously it's not something you could get back. So once your body
Yeah,
is still fit enough and your mind is still willing, continue to go, because as you said, there's gonna be good times and bad times, but that's what Test cricket is about. And you are obviously this generation's flag bearer, so continue to go as long as you can, buddy.
yeah, thanks a lot, man. I mean, I just want to say, over the time we were open, I thoroughly, enjoyed, the times, the communication out there. It was a pleasure, man. So obviously to be here, when it was on, there was no hesitation at all, man.
Of course, pencil man.
Yeah,
I don't want to keep you much longer. I just want to echo what Karen was saying there. Huge congratulations, and the achievement. It's an amazing achievement. And so, huge congratulations on that side of things. But one thing I wanted to quickly ask you is, one side of your game that which stands out to me is obviously this grittiness and this sort of like ability to concentrate for long periods of time. Is that something that you've always had within your game, or is that something you've had to work quite hard to sort of figure out in terms of the concentration aspect to that you get to it?
Uh, to say I worked on it, like throughout my career, like being able to concentrate, I can't say yes. But I know one thing, and I don't know how it worked. So I think my father did a good job. Is from a young age, I understood where I could score runs and
Right.
where I wasn't good at. Where's my weakness, my weaker points. And, even from on the 13, it was quite aggressive and stuff, but through the leg side mainly. And I always found a way, to get the runs, because it was like
Yeah.
25 over games at that time. So as I got older, I think that just stuck with me knowing like my strengths. As many times I made mistakes like driving at balls or say awesome or
Yeah.
looking to punch balls that weren't there. But I think that has stuck with me. Me knowing my strengths and knowing my kind of limitations that I pretty much waited and I can't say how I got the patience
Yeah.
because not that I'm all this type of patient fella generally outside of batting. But it's just that I don't know, boy. Just that me knowing myself and knowing that I am not good enough at that and just waiting
Yeah.
until I get what I'm good at, to try to score off. I think that stuck with me throughout my career, probably.
No, I do appreciate what you were saying there. I don't want to keep you too much longer, so I do. I've got nothing more really to add. I think the way Karen and you talked there and you broke everything down. I do appreciate you taking your time to come and join us on the podcast tonight.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me, man.
No, all the best. Good luck
Yeah.
starting tomorrow.
Good
All
luck,
the best,
Ricky.
mate.
All right, smart. Yeah,
Go well, buddy.
yeah, thanks.
Well, that was brilliant to get Kraigg on before such a landmark milestone test match, and then looking into that test match starting tomorrow. Do you see any changes going into that other than the potential maybe of them bringing a quick in instead of Jamel Warwickham?
Well, from all reports, what I've seen is that the pitch is very dry. Obviously, the outfield is lush green,
Yeah,
but the reports coming back are that the pitch itself is very dry. So I actually don't see any changes to the team. Um, I think more so than anything, the biggest thing surrounding the team right now is obviously the accusations of a player, some rape charges or whatever the case is. And I think more so than anything, that would be bringing a lot of, I guess, unwanted attention to a team that just lost a test match in the middle of a test series.
yeah,
Um, and I think that, for me personally, the way that it's sort of been handled is quite interesting because earlier this year you would have seen a report of a female West Indian cricketer saying that she was sexually abused during the 2020 during the T20 World Cup in 2020. Those reports came out sometime in March or something earlier this year. So it's not a very good look for West Indies cricket right now, and I think that the optics of the entire situation is quite damning. West Indies cricket needs to really take a step back, and the organizers, and the people in the board really need to have, I guess, a look at the cricket, but a look at themselves as well. As to how these things are able to allegedly happen. Obviously, these are currently accusations, so it's only alleged, and
yeah,
we're speaking allegedly of these things happening. But you also look at probably the biggest court case of this century, barring the O.J. Simpson stuff with what's happening with Sean Combs at the moment, and you see how powerful accusations could be, and what sort of situations people could land in. So
yeah,
I think going into this test match, it's going to be a situation where the West Indies either have a really good match or a really bad match, and that's all going to come down to whether the team galvanizes as one, um, and bands together as brothers, and plays together, and supports each other, or starts to have little chips, little fragments where the Australians could chip away.
Yeah, definitely. One of the points that we made in the preview for the first test, and it was brilliant to get your insight, was on the wicket, and you nailed that totally. What's your experience of playing in Grenada, and how does it tend to play there?
I've actually never played a 40 game, first class game, test match, anything in Grenada. I've played some one day internationals and I've played some A team 50 over matches there as
Right.
well. But
Okay.
this would be going way back to 2012, 2013
Right.
times.
Okay.
Um, from what I can remember though, is that it generally has a quite heavy dew overnight from the covers. So the covers generally sweat a lot. So there's a lot of moisture in the morning session every time, regardless of if it's whatever happens. Like the
Yeah. Yeah.
morning periods are always pretty tricky. But if you get through that, from all reports, it's always a good place to bat. And I do remember that I've always wanted to play a first class game there because every time you see teams go there, it's 400 and odd plays,
Yeah.
500 and odd, and teams generally get in and go big. So I expect it to be a far better batting surface. The outfield is pretty quick. Um, you look at when the West Indies would have played England in a T20 series there a few years ago. It was a very high scoring
Yeah.
outing, a 50 over series, sorry. It was a very high scoring outing where Chris Gill made 150
Yeah.
out of 170 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. West Indies made 450 something and England made four plenty as well.
Yeah.
England won, if I'm not mistaken. So expecting it to be a very good batting surface. Having said that, I think the bowling units on both teams are superior to the batting units on both teams.
Yeah.
And Australia would probably go in as favourites again with the addition of Steve Smith coming back into the 11. We know what he brings, in my opinion, as you know, best batsman in the world, by a long shot as well. And he's someone that's always hungry for runs and hungry for big scores. So hopefully, Kraigg
Makes the batting
celebrating his
cage as well.
yeah. Hopefully Kraigg celebrating his 100th
Yeah.
Test match. He can sort of roll back the clock to his vintage best, um, and pull out one of those marathon innings where he just bats and bats and bats. And what better way to celebrate 100 Tests but than by scoring 100 in that match? I think most recently Shea Hope in his 100th ODI scored a century as well
Yeah.
against India and Trinidad. So these are things that hopefully the cricket gods bless Kraigg with, for his service to the game.
Definitely. Within speaking, then that hunger is still there.
Yeah.
And he wants, there's no 100 and out for him in his mind. He's thinking, of going again and making it, and continuing playing test cricket. So, like you said, hopefully he can mark this momentous occasion with a century. But ultimately, the batters have got to find a way like you mentioned, they've got to find a way of scoring 350 plus, whether
And
that's in the
I,
unit or.
I think that's on both sides, to be fair, because I
Yeah.
think that the bowling units on both sides, they're going to do their jobs. They're going to get 20 wickets. So it's just a matter of which team bats better, as was the case and what I mentioned in the first Test match as well.
Yeah.
Whoever bats first is going to have a tricky situation, as I said, because I expect there to be a bit of morning moisture, and Caribbean pitches are a bit sticky and a bit tricky to bat on with that moisture in that first session. So you could expect probably maybe one or two, even three early wickets, depending on which side bats first. But once it settles down, I think that the middle order in particular, and especially if the openers see through that tricky period, I think that it will be a big score for whichever team sort of bats first.
So with that in mind, would you be looking to bat first and just ride out that rough sort of early period, or would you be looking to go the other way and bowl first and sort of really try and take advantage in that first hour?
Generally in the Caribbean, I'd recommend bowling first. All these morning starts, like it's just unpredictable. The dew factor overnight and the moisture on the pitch. So I'd recommend always bowling first. As I said, if you could end the day with 7 wickets down, would have been your day, really and truly. So you try and maximize that first session, get as many wickets as possible, and then settle into your work as a team and try and get 2 wickets a session for the next 2 sessions. And happy days. As I said again, batting is generally best on days 2 and 3 in the Caribbean as well. And if you look at it and you're 7 wickets, you have the opposition 7 wickets down. That means that they're gonna come back and bat in that tricky period to start with on day 2, which puts straight onto the better side of the pitch on day 2 anyway.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I do think that any, there was a chance for them to win that first test. I just think it's going to be even harder for them to win this one. When you bring in a Steve Smith into that side, you know, when he misses games, he always seems to come back with a score. It's just the way that he seems. Well, he just seems to score anyway. But I just, jokingly before he was practicing a batting cage in New York, and in a way, in his here. So I do think that it's, and he was the leading run scorer in the last series, albeit it was obviously a few years ago. So it's going to be tough. But ultimately, like, this is what the challenges that you want, and they've shown these glimpses in the first test of where they can kick on from a batting perspective, or where they can really drive home that opportunity when they have from a bowling perspective. So
I do think this will be the best test of the series, because the pink ball test in Jamaica, I'm not expecting that to go past 2.5 days.
have they confirmed that now? About it being a day night on? Have they confirmed anything yet? Because it was up
That's been confirmed. That's been confirmed for a long time.
I read an article about it being up in the air, about the quality of the lights or something.
No, as far as I know, that's been
Right.
confirmed. So they've been testing the lights and stuff. But
Right, okay.
I don't expect that to go past 2.5 days, given my knowledge and experience of playing a first-class match, pink ball in Jamaica, and the first day 25 wickets. So it does all sorts in Jamaica under those lights at night. So
Well,
I think this has the potential to be the best pitch and the best match of the series, the most competitive match of the series, evenly balanced. So fingers crossed the West Indies can, put some performances together. I potentially foresee first innings West Indies getting a 300-run score.
right.
So let's see.
No, good. Well, we'll look forward to debriefing this game, as we always do, in your knowledgeable insights. And I am going to finish, as I always be finishing, about the comments and the likes and subscribes. The one benefit I would say is, if you did subscribe to our channel, you'll know when this goes out live. There's a benefit to subscribing to the PowettPlay Podcast. There's exciting things on the horizon. There's exciting guests on the horizon. And the only way that you find out first is by subscribing. So please keep subscribing, keep liking, and obviously the comment wise, get engaged in conversations with Kieran, because he loves coming back to you all. And there's been some brilliant comments this week as well.
Smash that subscribe button. Just hit it. Smash it.
Well, thanks very much, Kieran, for joining us, and thanks to you, Kraigg, obviously, for joining as well. It's really, really brilliant to have Kraigg join us on the eve of such a significant milestone game. So thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the PowettPlay Podcast.